in the future, Vietnam, Taiwan, Brunei, Singapore, Indonesia. So we aim to be clean energy specialist, specialized in solar, of course, but we also looking into wind, hydro, and other renewable energies around the region. So we are the asset developer and also the EPC contractor. We have been developing projects in Malaysia, Philippines, and Vietnam for both utility and also the rooftop. So all in all, we have developed about 1.5 gigawatt since, developed and constructed 1.5 gigawatt since we established. And we have completed project utility scales, primarily in Malaysia. We have about 30% market share, and also we have done a utility project in the Philippines as well. Right, so that's what. Yeah.
Great, thanks, Vincent. So Jacqueline, I didn't get to meet you this morning, so I'm sorry, but please introduce yourself.
Thank you, Joe. Hi, good morning, everyone. Sawadee ka. I am Jax Castillo, and I'm from the Philippines. Thank you very much for inviting me here. I represent Mabuhay Energy Corporation. I'm the COO and head of the commercial operations of the company. And Mabuhay Energy, for a change, is not really a solar developer, but we're actually a retail electricity supplier in the Philippines. And I think it's a different game for us because we started, the business model of Mabuhay Energy is backward integration, wherein we built the demand first. So we got the customers first, and now that we have around 120 megawatts of customer portfolio, then we find it time to go on and develop our own solar farms. Because in the Philippines, it's really big on R&E right now. There has been a moratorium on coal, so everyone's really just going through the renewable space. And for us, it's a mandate, for Mabuhay Energy, it's a mandate to have about 1,000 megawatt of solar capacity in the next 5 years. So I'm really hoping to get the ball rolling, share the opportunities that you have in the Philippines and some of the challenges that we experienced so far, and really just enjoy the network that we might have after this. Thank you.
Thanks, Jacqueline. So you said Jax is the nickname? All right, Jax. All right, thank you. Thank you for that. So Tom, jump in.
Tom Warwick here from Lightsource BP. Lightsource BP is a UK headquartered global developer. We've got about 12 gigawatts developed, and most of that is in EMEA and Americas, and we're kind of working in readdressing that balance so that we end up with a third EMEA, third Americas, and third APAC. So kind of relatively new on our Asian journey. We're active in Taiwan and Korea, with an office in Singapore as well, and kind of our main kind of project delivery in Asia so far has been Australia. We're kind of running through about a gigawatt a year at the moment, looking to expand there across the region.
Yeah, thanks for that, Lawrence. Lawrence, it's good to meet you too. We didn't get to meet you. I know you had traffic, so you experienced your first time in traffic this morning. Well done.
Yeah, to start with, there was a flight delay, so I just landed. So if you walk next to me later, you smell like aircraft. Yeah. But I met you at the restroom, so not so nice to shake hands.
You don't really admit that.
So my name is Lawrence from Singapore, and I was formerly with a company called Sunseap. I think some of you may have known. So we grew from a humble beginning, and then finally we got a good deal selling it off to EDPR. So now I'm on my own. I joined a group of enthusiasts to develop further renewable energy in APAC. Most of all, I think the way we do it now is we invest in potentials in a way of, you see, RE, right? It's not renewable. It's real estate. So we now move into a situation of understanding generation assets as a real estate. How can we maximize the yield on the same land area for a purpose? The purpose is to light up the world, is to provide affordable clean energy, as well as looking at the municipal, I would like to say county or whatever, but let's be a little bit down to earth, municipal area, as well as providing a form of a partnership with off-takers. For example, in Australia, some of you may have come across an article that's sounding out Cambridge, our wholly owned subsidiary in Australia, Cambridge GMT Australia. We acquired somewhere between 1,200 to 1,400 hectares of land. You don't need that much of a solar farm there because the power grid, many Australians here, kill me later. The power grid is not ready for such a large single point solar farm. So we would be interested to build joint ventures with whoever like the place to, for example, hydrogen or any other carbon capture technology in the facility. So this is where we are. So we invest, we develop, and we operate assets. So anybody here want to catch me during lunch, happy to talk now. Thank you.
Thanks, Lawrence. Kyle, my closest neighbor here, I think, last but not least, please.
Yeah, thank you, Joe, and apologies for the late
That's all right.
late arrival. Rotate Mak Tini. Sawasdee Kap, I'm Kyle Katoski, here wearing a couple of hats. One with Vector Energy Advisory. We are a boutique transaction advisory, buy-side, sell-side, providing strategy consulting services in the renewable energy space in Southeast Asia. Secondly, I think more applicable for this utility scale panel, I'll be talking as head of development for a 70 megawatt solar park project in Laos. And so there's a number of challenges with that project that I'm eager to get into, but I think I'll leave it at that as I believe we're introing ourselves at this point, right?
That's good, and I want to come back to that, and I think we'll do it this way. Maybe Vincent can start us off, so I'm sorry I'm going out of order. We got a mic here. Let's define this for everyone here. I know we all have different positions around the industry. Vincent, you're coming in from Malaysia. You gave us a brief introduction about what you do, but if you were defining utility solar scale or utility scale for solar, what's the size of the prize we're talking about here? And then maybe if you have a project you could give us some reference for either in Malaysia or elsewhere that could help us sort of settle this in our mind what we're talking about.
Well, it's not my definition. Primarily, the utility scale is defined by the government policies, right? If the government release any new schemes or any quotas to tie into the utilities grid. So, but in the Southeast Asia, we kind of like see it from a range of as small as 1 megawatt to as big as 200-300 megawatt. In Malaysia right now, we are very active with the WPP or CGPP program. There's about 800 megawatt, maximum 30 megawatt per plant. And upcoming, we are looking into up to 2 gigawatt and also 500 megawatt AC, which is about 800 megawatt peak per site. So you can see it's about 1,000 over acres of land that is being utilized. So again, it ranges like 1 megawatt to 50, 100, 200, 300. As bigger the capacity, the more complex the interconnection is. So really, it depends on the scheme, location, interconnections, and stuff like that.
Yeah, let's jump back over to Thailand here then. You share the same view? Is it defined or is it defining? Are we defining this as we move along?
Well, I think Vincent is right. We do share the same views. When it comes to defining utility scale, I think it's kind of synonymous with large scale. That's what people understand when we say utility. If I had to define, I would say like not direct wired and minimum 5 megawatt maybe. That's how we define it as large scale project. In terms of Thailand, I think there's a lot of rumor going on the UGT2 program. We'll see a lot of changes, and this will probably drive the industry forward towards more large scale opportunities. Also with the CBAM, I think Richard touched base on that in the last session. With the CBAM mechanism coming, there's going to be, I guess, 7 to 8% of the Thai industries, manufacturing industries impacted by carbon tariffs. So there will be some benefits coming from that. So we see, or at least I see, a lot of push towards large scale projects coming from there.
Okay, you finished? Okay, yeah, I'm gonna jump over to Jax here in a second, and I guess I want to start talking about, so if we understand it, there's some variability from country to country, or maybe within ASEAN, what we're calling utility scale. Let's talk about the legislation then. Maybe we could use the Philippines as an example. So Jax, do you have a mic there you can grab onto? What are you seeing in terms of legislation, if only in the Philippines that's fine, or elsewhere in terms of setting the stage for how utility scale solar projects are moving forward? Any comments you'd like to make on that?
Thank you for the question, Joe. So in the Philippines, because of the Reform Act that we had in 2001, the Philippine power industry has opened to a lot of opportunities for private companies. So now the generation sector can now be owned by private companies, even the transmission. And it also gave birth to green electricity suppliers, which is a huge opportunity because it's the only one, or it's the only entity that's allowed to supply directly to end users. So the mandate of the law is to go household level in terms of open access and retail competition. So that's one. And for the regulatory, we have a lot of changes in the past 10 years. Number one is the Renewable Energy Act, which was mandated in 2008, which allows, if you want to put up a solar farm in the Philippines, or even any renewable technology, you will be given an IDH, or income tax holiday, for 7 years. So, and aside from that, you'll have a preferential dispatch in the spot market. So RE is priority for that. And also there's an easing of the regulation in terms of equity ownership for foreigners. So now for RE sector, even foreigners are allowed to own 100% equity. So that's a huge change from the last 5 years. And I think the Philippines, since it's an emerging country, there's also a huge potential because we have different mechanism like the derivative market, which is fairly new, and I don't think my other countries have that also. So for solar companies who wants to put up solar farm, or again any RE company, the derivatives market will be a good opportunity for you to look for off-takers for your projects, because bankability in the Philippines is fairly different. They would require about 50% off-take agreement before they allow you to be approved in the bank for loans. So in terms of off-take, you have a lot of potential aside from the distribution utilities, which is a little stable. The contract term with them are normally 10 years to 15 years. And then we have the Green Energy Auction Program, wherein the government can give you a fixed rate for your capacity, solar capacity. That's 20 years fixed rate from the government. So some of the interesting facts in the Philippines right now.
So when you talked in your introduction about building the demand first, is that what you're talking about, having 50% committed purchasers? Or is that a different concept?
Yes, but there are a lot of companies in the Philippines who want to put up their own RE plants, but they don't have the offtake. So that's a huge problem for them right now. So for us, at least it's no longer a problem, and we have an option to use our own consumption or sell it even to other wholesale parties.
That's not on a residential basis, that's more commercial or industrial?
Yes, commercial, industrial.
Okay, great. We jumped a little bit out of sequence, gave Kyle a chance to sit down there. I wanted to bring this back to Bangkok again, though, on the regulatory side. Any comments or additions you'd like to add, obviously outside of the context of the Philippines, or in the context of the Philippines, if you'd like?
Yeah, thanks, Joe. I think the development landscape is very well represented from Australia to Taiwan to the Philippines to Malaysia. I think BayWa is working regionally. I'll focus on the GMS. I'll focus on Lao. Our project is 70 megawatts utility scale, exporting power. The power is allocated for Cambodia, and so at scale, I think there's opportunities for Lao to be really a renewable energy corridor for the GMS, for Southeast Asia. In southern Lao, currently, the transmission line, the 500 megawatt transmission line, 500 kV transmission line to Cambodia has currently been constructed and is ready to send power to Cambodia. I think that's a game changer for southern Lao to export power. That's certainly helping us at scale to try and figure out solutions. And so I think that is certainly going to help us to move forward. Lao is not an easy country to operate in. And so we have the most advanced solar project in Lao at the moment, 70 megawatts, PPA signed in 2019, with the power allocated for Cambodia. And so two challenges really come up there. One is on the grid side, and the other is on the bankability side. And we're looking for solutions on both. On the bankability side, we're really looking to unlock financing through credit enhancement mechanisms, looking at different ways to do that with funds coming in from Cambodia, US dollars from Cambodia, through the cross-border PPA between EDL and EDC. And so through that PPA, US dollars are flowing to EDL, and we're looking to escrow those for our project to make it more bankable. On the grid side, again, that 500 kV line, I think, to Cambodia is a game changer, and we're looking to export our power or send our power to that backbone, and that backbone, I think, is going to really help with power generally to move that power from Laos to Cambodia and solve some of the grid issues. The ADB and Smart Power Asia are both working on integration of renewables into the southern grid in Laos. And so I think there's a number of parties, and the timing is quite good for Laos to really jumpstart its renewable program and to export power to the rest of the GMS.
Yeah, those are great. I'm glad you brought up that project, and I was looking forward to hearing from that. That's a massive project, and I think it's an example of what we're going to see from Cambodia to Thailand as well. Myanmar to Thailand at some point. I think this is all coming together. So when they talk about ASEAN having a common plan, maybe not so much, but we're starting to see some of the things come together here. So let me jump over to Tom. Tom, we talked a little bit this morning. What types of experiences are you seeing here? I know you seem to have one of the bigger enterprises to work within, and I know you're based out of Cairo, but you move around the region. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that if you want to, but what are you seeing in terms of projects that you're working on, and what type of latitude you have moving forward? Because I think your bankability issues might be slightly different than other folks in the room. So
yeah, I mean, so from our perspective, I think one of the things we find quite interesting in the region is the kind of pace that every market is going through their journey from kind of feed-in tariff to open market, and the kind of interesting scale that opens up for corporate power purchase agreements. I mean, and then you've got a lot of countries, we spoke about Taiwan earlier, that do have a feed-in tariff, but it's a kind of hybrid feed-in tariff that allows, it's a kind of off-taker of last resort that allows the people like yourselves to put a decent amount of development capital into those markets over a kind of 2-3 year time horizon. Sometimes it takes that long to have a project in Korea. With the kind of certainty of offtake that the fit is there, but with the end goal being that we can establish like a kind of liquid CPPA market and kind of prove that, and that's really the kind of thing that drives deployment at scale. Because there's a natural kind of depth for a feed-in tariff for TSO can only hold a certain warehouse, a certain amount of projects. But the real kind of prize is opening up that kind of third-party access corporate PPA market, And that's really kind of happening quite rapidly in some countries. Taiwan and Korea are perfect examples, but also Malaysia now with the kind of the TPA projects as a pilot coming through. But obviously the potential there is absolutely massive. So.
Yeah, those are good examples. I mean, I think about what we saw from Dr. Watchern this morning, sort of the hockey sticking away from the feed-in tariff, right? And I think 4 years ago we would have all felt so comfortable about that and maybe looking for a third one. But it's interesting how that has progressed. And you're saying Korea and Taiwan are sort of, in your mind, leading the charge regionally.
Very, very carefully. The other point of risk is that the land, whether it is going to be a freehold that we are fortunate to get our hands on, or a multiple owner piece of land. And you can already see the complexity. For a project to even take off, the land certainty has to be firm. I know, for example, in Malaysia, we used to work with Solarvest. Sometimes you say, oh, beautiful land, flat land. And then somebody comes and say, I have these title deeds by the federal government, and I have this another title deeds by some royalties. Then you are like, okay, who should I respect? And they don't have the same boundaries, by the way. They don't draw the same boundaries. Some of them are like X, some of them like L-shaped overlaying some. So these are some of the factors that we have to overcome before even we embark on investing. The other one is PPA. How much of the project in Australia, for example, are PPA in the percentage, and how much are left to merchants. In the past, I hear a lot of the previous projects, they are about 80-20, 60-40, 60-80 PPA, and the rest left to merchants in order to enjoy the spot price. And now they are getting a hit because now there are more negative prices. And everybody thought that having battery storage is a silver bullet, but battery storage has its cost and has its maintenance O&M costs as well. So these are some of the investment side of the house that we have to stare at. Then we talk about geography. I'm actually very glad when we first started looking at Southeast Asia, after being a Singapore boy, we want to look out and see where else outside of Singapore is bankable. And those days, there was so much talk about Vietnam not bankable. I'm sure some of you are more senior. I see a lot of young people, more senior enough. And you know that Vietnam, at one point in time, everybody says it's not bankable. And then either we are fearless or can't define what is fear. We went to Cambodia. And everybody was like, oh, who is this boys? But now I hear even all these Indo-China belts are proceeding and progressing very well. And I'm as a practitioner in the renewable space, this is happy thing for me to do. Because why are we all here? We are all here because we want to change the reliance on fossil fuel. But bringing up the investment piece, what does this mean to us? It means that today, if any of you are the government officials, again, kill me later, when you make a commitment, see it through. Because it's not going to affect your term in the office. It's going to affect generations to come. The money that I am investing comes from the retiree funds, the bonds, and stuff like that. we value our due diligence, but we also appreciate the need for you to carry out these policies and crystallize it, not for your term, not for the generations, but generations to come. And we want to see that coming true. I also like to say one more, kind of between you and Clock, is that the fact is renewable energy is going to be a 20-25 years investment. And as it passes, it's going to have better yield on the same piece of area. So I spoke about just now about free holding land, which means to say today, if 1 hectare is X number of production of hydrogen or X number of megawatt, tomorrow will be better. The more we put ourselves with the policy, develop the renewable energy assets together, the better your country, my country, and as a whole, Asia can be better. So I can't do this alone. We should do this together. And having China Belt, which is water enriched, good sunlight in Australia, you don't call Sunshine Coast for nothing, right? So we can work together and bring about the first change. We have enough of examples from Europe and US in the world of renewable space. I think this is a time, and I advocate in all the talks that I've been participating, it's time for Asia to show our peace. Not peace as P-E-A-C-E, but our piece of examples, a piece of leadership, a piece of thoughts, leadership in this area. And it's time for us to pull assets together. I remember doing 4 years ago, even in the midst of COVID, we were already talking about LTMS. Laos, Thailand, Malaysia, Singapore. Vietnam was quite upset. Where's the V? Right? So we say, yeah, but you see, the thing is, sun shines across this whole region. If this region can act together, put together, and create a market together, I think that will be marvelous for Asia.
Great comments, Lawrence. I mean, I guess Singapore is in the house here. We've got the line of sight on the rule of law and stability. So, as we move around ASEAN, I think there's some natural tension that's going to happen around property ownership. And go get a lawyer. That's my first pitch every time. But let's do this quick. I think you're about to tell me a couple of minutes. Let's do real fast. Let's do it this way. We can do problems or challenges or opportunities. Let's do challenges. Number one challenge in 15 seconds or less in your position, Kyle.
Yeah, building on Lawrence's good comments, I think bankability, in off-taker situations, I fully expect things to move to be more hybrid, whether that's corporate PPAs, whether that's the Asia Power Grid or the LTMS. I think that a lot of programs are also constrained by this development landscape of off-takers moving too slowly. So whether that's direct PPAs in Vietnam or other hybrid solutions through corporate PPAs, I fully expect the landscape to evolve over the next few years very quickly. And when we come back here a year or two from now, I think it'll be quite different.
Model form PPA that everyone accepts. Let's jump to Tom. Tom, what do you think? Challenges?
Well, I guess every market is different, but kind of coming from our perspective, land is probably the primary challenge, and kind of coordination. We've got a number of projects where the kind of small land parcels, 200 packages plus, and we've got our land scattered around other people's lands, and kind of I think there's a lot of work that could be done around kind of independent land brokerage in that situation where you kind of end up building something that makes more sense for the whole system and it's cheaper from an LCOE perspective and avoids digging up the same road 3 times. So I think there's a lot that the industry could do on kind of land exchange and kind of cooperation there. And kind of, from our perspective, I think a lot of the time people see the oil and gas logo and kind of feel it's kind of intimidating to reach out, but I think we'd encourage everybody that if we do have land positions around the same project, we're very much open to kind of coordinating and making something that makes the most sense for both projects.
Yeah, good one, land for sure, right? Jax, what, 15 seconds or less, number one challenge?
Well, the number one challenge in the Philippines right now is grid infrastructure. Even if you want to put up your own solar farm or RE plant, there's a restriction or constraint on the grid if it's going to be able to accommodate your additional capacity. So that's one. And the second one is, of course, the fear of the continuity of implementing the new policies, because Philippines is very political in nature when it comes to driving policies. So that's our second fear. And of course, but this is on a personal note, Joe, I think it's hard to find the balance between sustainability and food security for any country. Because whenever we try to build new plants, we convert the agricultural lands to industrial. So we keep losing agricultural lots, which might affect food security in the future. That's why, at least for us in Mabuhay Energy, we're trying to look for that balance by trying to put up our solar farm as agrovoltaic technology, meaning it's mixed use. You still get to use the land for agricultural, and at the same time you build your panels on top of the crops.
Good comments, good comments. Rule of law, stabilization, harmonization. Vincent?
Yeah, I mean, recent Solarvest expansion from Malaysia to South Asia, from our perspective, we see that every country starts with their own problem and their own policies, and then within the policy they have the inconsistency, politics, land, the connection, and so on and so forth. But then, of course, in the biggest perspective from Asia or Southeast Asia, we do need to strengthen our grid, to have the third-party access, the cross-border kind of electricity exports and all that. So that also requires a lot of government-to-government talks, politics approach, and a lot of investment required by the utility company to kind of strengthen the grid. I mean, every country has got their own problem. Vietnam got curtailment, Philippines has got their different off-takers and grid connections, and Malaysia have very limitation or very reserved grid connectivity that they are not aggressive enough. So I mean, if we were to combine everything and to expand, then I would see that the scale is relatively big, and of course the opportunity is really there for the entire Southeast Asia.
Good. Last words, Kwan.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, in the end, I think we all work for companies that work for the climate, but we also need investment-friendly climate for these companies, because in the end, everyone's looking for profit as well. And one way to do that is modernizing the grid. I totally agree with everyone here. So that's one of the big bottlenecks we face in project implementation. If there's no grid, it doesn't matter how good of a land you have, there's no project, there's no power flowing through. So that's something we need to fix.
An ASEAN challenge, right? The grid from country to country, from province to province. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm a little over. Sorry about that. I'd like to ask our round of applause for our panel, and we're going to stand right up there and take a picture. Right?
Thank you so much for our distinguished speakers for your engaging an important person on the stage, especially Kun Joseph Ka, Vice President Regions Executive Committee Board Member, Association of International Energy Negotiators, as our special moderator for this special panel.